BBC News, hello, I'm Eileen McHugh. North Korea has accused President Biden of pursuing a hostile policy towards the country and has warned that the United States will get hurt if it provokes Pyongyang. The North was giving its first response to the Biden administration's policy on the country. Steve Jackson reports.
North Korea is well known for using strident language towards its enemies, and this statement was no exception. The Foreign Ministry accused President Biden of insulting the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, of maintaining a hostile policy towards Pyongyang, and of girding itself for a showdown. Mr. Biden told Congress on Wednesday that the North's nuclear weapons were a serious threat and promised to deal with Pyongyang using diplomacy and stern deterrence. There will be no repeat of Donald Trump's show-stopping but ultimately fruitless meetings with Kim Jong-un, and hopes for any kind of a breakthrough in relations are extremely low.
The head of the US-led military mission in Afghanistan, General Scott Miller, has warned against attacks on foreign troops as they start to withdraw, saying they had the means to respond forcefully. He made his remarks after a Taliban spokesman said the militants were no longer bound by an earlier commitment not to attack international forces there. Our North America correspondent is Peter Bowes.
This is America's longest war. We've heard President Biden refer to it as the forever war. We heard President Trump talk about endless wars. They both had the goal of bringing all US forces back home, but with a different timetable. In fact, today, the 1st of May, was to have been the deadline set by the Trump administration. And this is why the Taliban, seemingly so angry that the United States has apparently broken that agreement, and why over the next few months, with the new deadline of September the 11th, there will initially be an increase in the number of forces, a tightening security with the fear of reprisal attacks.
There have been reports of some progress at talks in Vienna aimed at rescuing the 2015 nuclear deal that Iran struck with the outside world. As a third round of negotiations ended, Iran's chief negotiator said the process had slowed but that it was moving forward. Turkish police have intervened forcefully to stop left-wing groups marching on May Day to the centre of Istanbul in defiance of coronavirus restrictions. More than 200 people were arrested. Rory Gallimore reports.
An alarming surge in coronavirus cases prompted Turkey to begin its first full lockdown of the pandemic on Thursday, but that didn't stop people coming out onto the streets. Most of the violence in Istanbul took place when activists tried to reach Taksim Square, a symbolic area of protest in the city. More than 30 demonstrators were killed there on May Day in 1977 by suspected far-right gunmen.
World News from the BBC. May Day demonstrations and protests across Europe have led to clashes with police in several countries. French officers fired tear gas in Paris, and some protesters threw stones, smashing the window of a bank and setting fire to rubbish bins. Pepper spray was used against demonstrators in the German cities of Munich, Essen and Weimar. Demonstrations are underway in Colombia's main cities to mark International Labour Day and for a fourth day running protest against the government's proposed tax reforms. The unions, who are leading the protest, say the new rules will unfairly target the poor and the middle class. Leonardo Rocha reports.
In the capital, Bogotá, police have fired tear gas to disperse demonstrators. There's heavy police presence around most protests. Colombia's opposition parties have written to President Iván Duque asking him to act against police violence. They say at least 11 people have been killed by police since Wednesday, most of them in the city of Cali. On Friday, Mr. Duque said that tax changes were essential to balance the budget, but he promised to review some of the most contentious points of the bill.
Thousands of people wearing the yellow and green colours of the Brazilian national flag have gathered in cities across the country to show their support for President Jair Bolsonaro. The biggest demonstrations have taken place in Sao Paulo and on Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana seafront. Venezuela's socialist government has nearly tripled the value of the minimum wage, which will now be worth 7 million bolivars a month. The measure comes into effect immediately, but because of hyperinflation and the weakness of the local currency, the new wage will only be worth about $3.50. And Pope Francis has begun a month-long series of prayers for the end of the pandemic. He recited the first rosary at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. 30 other Roman Catholic shrines around the world will take turns throughout May. BBC News.